Deb, what I might do is I'll leave Paul and yourself unmuted here, so feel free. I want to have a kind of conversation about this, but just in 2 or 3 minutes, could you give us a kind of potted history for people? So I know a lot of people on this webinar are from the Play by the Rules list that we have, so they're quite familiar with what Play by the Rules is about. But could you give us a little, they might not be so familiar with how it evolved over time. Could you give us a little potted history?
Yeah. We probably began in the mid-90s. I can't give you an exact date. It's too long ago. But the South Australian Department of Sport, the South Australian Equal Opportunity and the Sports Commission at the time were monitoring issues, and they were predominantly harassment and discrimination issues in sport, and there was like a spate happening, and there was very, very little knowledge and understanding of the relevant laws at the time, and also very, very little information available that was particularly relevant to volunteers and to the sporting context. So the information that was out around discrimination and harassment was very much pitched at the workplace and paid employees. So we decided to put together some information that was specific for the sport industry and decided to do it on a separate website, so we weren't constrained by government style guides, and that we could be a little bit more flexible in our language and also in our look and the look and feel. And then in the early 2000s, we started to add information around child protection as the various child protection legislation in the states began to be introduced. First of all, it was New South Wales and Queensland, and then slowly the other states have come on board. And again, very, very little information or consideration given to the context of sport and the impact on sport. So that took a big chunk of our time. And we also looked at who that particularly affected, and it really, there was a big focus on coaches. So we looked at producing some online training, which at the time was extremely cutting edge. There was very, very little online training at the time. And if you look back at it now, it's extremely clunky. But we looked at trying to put together some simple online training around harassment, discrimination and child protection so that we could increase the understanding and the knowledge of coaches, and then we expanded that to administrators and officials. And then over time, again, issues have changed, a lot more issues around things like same-sex relationships, racial vilification, transgenders, homophobia. And so we've just continued to monitor those sorts of issues and add information to the website. And then more recently, we've been looking at issues such as texting and cyberbullying, which is about when Paul started to come on board and has really grown that particular social media area.
Yeah, Paul, I might jump you in there, because we had this discussion in the preparation for the webinar, didn't we, that issues had evolved and changed over time. What do you think were some of the major issues in your tenure the last couple of years?
Very much the new technologies with social media, that type of thing. I should be that tiny little circle the last 2 years for Deb's big circles throughout the last 15 years. But my main influence, I guess, with Play by the Rules is around the communication side of things. That was my background. I looked after communication and education at the Australian Human Rights Commission. So my input was very much around, it was a fantastic resource, but it was creating more awareness around the program and the product and the website and the resources. So I've very much set about through the web, through video, with doing the community service announcements, and the recent one with the Racism It Stops With Me was very popular. Introducing Twitter and as you've done, Pete, with the webinars and infographics, that type of thing. Just new technologies, how we can share and create awareness and engage more with people out there in clubs and associations about what Play by the Rules is.
Yeah.
I guess the other element that I brought in was just trying to increase partnerships. As that awareness increases, more organisations know about it, to try and utilise partnerships, and partnerships that work both ways, where we both get something out of it, we both learn, and we can both share around these issues around inclusion and discrimination and child protection issues. So handing the baton over to you, I guess, is that new technology area, and yeah, where you'll take the program and resources from here.
Yeah, well, that's me in the big circle with the question mark at the moment. But it's exciting. It's exciting times, because you guys have set all this up for, for the future. Really, the awareness is, as we'll see in just a second, where Play by the Rules is up to. The awareness is really increased dramatically, and with new technologies changing and new issues arising, there are opportunities such as this through webinars to connect to the Play by the Rules audience in greater ways in the future. So that's sort of on the back of yours and Deb's and Mary's and Judith's and everyone else's work over the last number of years. Deb, was there a website in 1995? Because that would have been very cutting edge at those days.
Oh, I can't give you the exact date, Pete, but it was very, very early. There was not much around at all, and the few websites that government agencies had, you had to have inside knowledge in terms of trying to find the resources and the information. And there was some fantastic stuff actually available, but you just couldn't find it. And that was, I think, also one of the benefits of Play by the Rules, was actually bringing together in the one place all the sort of resources, the policies, the strategies, the fact sheets, all those sorts of things that were out there into one spot that could be easily found.
Yeah, yeah.
So Deb, you would have researched and developed all the content for the entire original site.
Mary, I have to give a huge nod to and acknowledgement and recognition to Mary Duncan, but essentially between Mary Duncan and myself, with assistance from the state departments, yes, we essentially wrote all the content for Play by the Rules, including the online training that was done at the time. So it was a big job, but we had some brilliant people at all the state equal opportunity commissions, the state departments of sport, and the child protection commissions providing their input. And I suppose Mary and I sportised it, if I can use that word.
Yeah, you can certainly use that word. I often use example of Play by the Rules as one of the best collective impact examples in Australian sport. In fact, I challenge anyone to give me a better example of a collective approach to issues such as this. What I might do now is move on. Thanks, guys. Thank you. We'll give a little update in a minute and get into some questions. But I want to do a quick poll of the audience here. So I get a bit of audience participation going. And Catherine Duff is helping us moderate our polls and our questioners today. And Catherine's going to run a poll that... Catherine, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Pete. It should be up on your screens now. The poll question is, are you from a national sports organisation, a state and territory sports organisation, a local club or association, government or other? So if you can just click the one that best applies to you. So we've got around 70% of people have voted. Last few seconds, and I think we'll close that off. Okay, we'll close that and share the results. So we can see there we have around 30% from state and territory sport organisations, around 20% identifying from local clubs, government or other, and 9% from national sporting organisations. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Thanks, Kath. That's just about what I kind of expected. Now, that really helps. Thank you very much, everybody, for doing that. It helps us to sort of gauge the content and to know where the questions are coming from, etc. So thanks very much for that.